Hey everybody, welcome to Forza Part 2. This is a bit of a different recording style of video, mainly because I recorded all the gameplay and I'm recording the voiceover separately. So hopefully this is something that works out well. We'll see how it goes and how the video flows, but essentially what I wanted to get into today was Forza at a little bit of a unique and granular high level. It's not going to be super in-depth, and I'm not going to cover everything that Horizon 5 has to offer, simply because that video would take far too long to make. But today we're going to talk about some of the things that the game allows you to do, namely adjusting controls and making it so that it plays a little bit more into the adventure style of gameplay. We're also going to go on another adventure. It's a real quick one, and admittedly it is a racing adventure, which was kind of the antithesis of the point of all this. But it'll make more sense as the video progresses. We'll also touch on some multiplayer stuff to scratch that itch. And then on the back end, we'll get into some of the creative aspects of the game. Like I said, I don't want this to come across as just a racer. But you know, it is an open world adventure, and here's some of the reasons why, at least in my opinion. So if you have a moment, get comfortable, get a snack, and we'll hop right into it here in just a few seconds. All right, thanks for hanging out with me, I appreciate it. Alright, so what you'll notice here is, from a controller standpoint, I am playing the game as it's designed to be played right off the bat. Like, you unpack your Xbox, you install the game, or if you're playing this on a PC, you plug in your controller, and you're using your triggers to accelerate and to brake, you're using your face buttons to shift or to control other aspects of the car. It is something that works for me because I have a big history in racing games, and typically most racing games that you see right up through to Mario Kart have an acceleration and deceleration button. But what you'll see that I'm going to do here to make the control more like an adventure game is I'm going to switch my controller layout to default layout 14. And what that's going to do is that's going to map acceleration and braking to the left stick as well as steering. So now, instead of driving with a go button and stopping with a stop button, you'll see here shortly, I'm going to be driving and steering with the left stick. Now, if you think about it, it compares a lot to that level of movement is still very analog, and in terms of racing, it would actually be extremely helpful to be able to do something like that, because it gives you a lot of control over the gas pressure and braking that the triggers do. But in the realm of what we're trying to discuss here, what I'm trying to do is show you that there are ways to simplify the controls, even though I ridiculously lost control here, just not used to it. And well, if you come to my stream, this is kind of a normality. But what I did here was I made it to so that the movement would be a little bit more useful to people who have never played a racing game but did want to try an open world adventure like Forza Horizon 5. So what I'm doing here is I'm noticing that because I have it geared manually, I'm having to shift into reverse to go backwards. So then I have to downshift and then press forward to proceed backward, which isn't super conducive to what I'm trying to accomplish here. So here in a couple seconds, I'm going to notice that it's a little bit easier for me to put the car in an automatic transmission. And what that'll do for people, and again, the automatic transmission is actually a difficulty setting in this game. So what that'll do for people who aren't used to the controls of a racing game when paired with default layout 14 is it's going to make it so that the car now moves like essentially a character from a video game. Now, if you watch my hands now, I'm not even touching the right side of the controller. No interaction with the face buttons, no nothing. I'm essentially just moving forward. Here in a couple seconds, I'll take this a pretty sharp right-hander. I guess it's not that right-hander. It must be the next one. But steering here it's done pretty simply. you know, any adventure game that you've played, you'll be right at home with this control scheme, right? And in a couple seconds, what I'd like to do is, if you think about it, you think about your Crash Bandicoots, you think about your Metal Gear Solids, or even your bigger name franchises. You know what I mean? Your Skyrims, your Final Fantasy VIIs. In this case, Mario. Look at Mario. I'm controlling Mario here with one stick. That's all that I'm doing. It keeps him moving. It turns him. Same thing with Link. I'm running through here very effortlessly. It's an open world. It's a huge open world. But as far as control goes, the car that you saw before and the characters that you're seeing now are being controlled the same way. Now, if you look at this camera angle that I've done, I've put the car in third person, and now it's it's extremely similar to what we have with Link and Mario in the previous clips. I'm using the stick, I'm going forward, it's set to automatic, and I'm just using this to control my character in the open world space. Now, speaking of adventure controls, one of my biggest selling points on this game has been the fact that it's largely an adventure. What we're looking at here are the seasons. This game updates seasonally to provide players with different goals and different things that they can do to earn cars or revenue in the game. Some of them are races, some of them are race championships, some of them are competing against other players, and we'll come back to that later. I kind of hovered on the eliminator here. That's something that is a little bit interesting that we'll come back to. But essentially, this is where a lot, but not all, of the adventure portion comes from. This section here is interesting. These are the main story beats throughout the entire game, right? Each of these different tickets, if you will, represents a different brand of racing in the game. And typically these are our story beats that don't have too much racing, like that one there mentions finding and restoring a classic car. But yeah, those are things that I've completed and things that you could complete if it was something that you wanted to try. Also, here on the map, what you'll see is it lists everything that's available to be seen on the map. And in terms of just random exploration, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to filter the map so that it only shows things that aren't just your standard Forza race, right? So we'll go up to the top, we'll turn everything off, and then we will turn on the treasure chests, if there are any for the season. We will turn on the speed traps, the drift zones, the danger signs rather, and the stories. And here in a couple seconds, we'll actually get into a story that does involve some racing. Barn finds are a little different, and the bonus boards are too, because those are just things you find on your adventure, and the landmarks and houses are the same way. But we're gonna head down to an adventure here shortly, like an actual story adventure that has nothing to do with just really lining up your car and racing it. Outside of there's actually some narrative to it, right? Like we're in the story that I chose, we talk very briefly with an NPC about the history of a specific car built by Volkswagen. Also here at the top left, they did add like a history of Horizon, if it's something that you wanted to get into. It, I believe it's still available, but it's definitely one of the most emotional beats that this game has ever provided me.
I'm a fair man.
So here we are, we're talking about the history of Volkswagen in Mexico, and we're gonna fast travel down here and get started on this particular adventure. I won't talk too much over it because there is a little bit of banter between the two characters, and this is set up like a race, and we're also not going to go super crazy and cut through shortcuts or anything like that. We're just going to try and finish this as intended by the game.
I hope you know some shortcuts.
So my player chose the older version of the car, and he chose the newer version, and now we're just gonna race to the location.
See you at the finish line. Don't make me wait for too long.
Like I said, it is this particular, and for the record, I like to use the first person If you think of a game like Skyrim where you can choose between the first and third person views, there are a lot of people who prefer to play their games in third person. For me, it's something that's a little bit dependent on the game, but in this case, I am playing through in the first person because I like to feel like the driver. Whereas what I would impart to those of you that are just now getting into this game or are wanting to give this a try, if the adventure is what you're seeking, you may want to look at the car that you're using as your adventurer. Although in the last video, got a little close. In the last video, I did talk about the amount of customization that you have for your character, so you really can build your own avatar and make this world your own.
I see what
I don't
you're
want to interrupt
doing,
him.
but you still can't win.
But you know, if the adventure is what you're seeking, and you just kind of want to get behind the wheel of a car and be the car, if you will, which is something that a lot of drivers do say. Yeah, they do say it. Don't judge me on that. It's something you can do. You know, it's definitely a little bit different for me because I am a driver and I like to be the driver, and that's my sense of the adventure. But I do think that the developers did a great job of making this approachable for pretty much any play style, to where any sort of adventure is one that can be had, and it's a lot of fun. You know, I have a ton of friends who I do get together and play this game with regularly, and we'll get more into that.
What a race! I am actually
Don't want to
surprised
interrupt
the
him
first
again.
generation still holds up. I'm sure you didn't cheat.
I didn't. I stayed on the road the whole time, bro. What are you talking about? And I didn't 3-star this, so for those of you that are completionists and perfectionists, it's set up for you to go back and 3-star it. But here, what we're going to do is just kind of take a look at different things. Like, there are these lists of accolades. If you see, there's almost 2,000 total accolades that you can get. And I only have, I would say, probably a little over half of them, maybe 2/3-ish, if you will. And they're all different things and different, they're all different things that you can do in the game to kind of advance, and you get little trinkets and little bonuses and just the achievement of a job well done doing it. But at the end of the day, those are things that are added to the game that largely don't include racing. And again, we're just taking another look at the playlist here. There's a speed trap that we can go do. I think it's out in the desert. I didn't do the speed trap simply because I didn't want to spend a lot of time trying to nail it, because my playstyle lends itself to, I have to nail these things. And again, if you've ever been to my stream, you'll certainly see that sort of thing happening on a very, very regular basis. But here we're just kind of looking at the other things that we can do while the map is available. We could buy a house. If we hadn't found all the barn finds, we could find all of them, or we can just turn all this off and just drive around Horizon Mexico. You know, this map is enormous. If you think about other games where you open a giant map and look at what you can do, immediately Skyrim and Breath of the Wild come to mind, right?
That's fine. I'll pick you up.
But yeah, he's inviting me to continue that adventure. I don't think I will right now, only for the sake of time. And we're driving past another player, which is something we're actually going to dive a little bit more into in the next section of the video. I think that there are so many different itches that this game scratches in terms of a narrative and in terms of different playstyles and different genres. Just being an open world adventure is only a small, well, I won't say small, but it's only a portion of what Forza Horizon has to offer. And again, the biggest part to me is a little bit of the part that's coming up, which is community and being able to play the game with your friends. Alright, so here we are. We are now looking at some of the PvP aspects of the game, or even some of the co-op aspects of the game. We'll dive a little bit into that a little later on in the video. And again, I highlight Horizon Solo because this is not a requirement. You do not have to play the game with anybody else, but it is a lot of fun playing with your friends or even with completely random strangers. What I'm going to do here is I believe I turn on the ability to see other players on the map. You can see your friends, which are the green dots, or the other users, just random players, because it is a shared world. It does scratch an MMO itch, if you will, that are just kind of gray dots on the map. And the reality is that during the recording of this video, I didn't pick a super busy time of the day, but if you look at those dots that are kind of appearing and disappearing, those are just players entering and leaving the world. They could be going into different races together, excuse me, things of that nature. And what I'm fast traveling to right now is a playground game. Now, the playground games are definitely the more outside the norm versions of playing the game together. You got your king games, your infected game, and your flag rushes, and basically they are, I'm not going to get into them because I don't know if, yeah, what you'll find is I don't get into the game type, because in order to do that you have to build a convoy, and typically when you're in a random convoy you're kind of at the mercy of that convoy leader. Here's a random convoy that I just joined. Convoys maximize at 12. Usually I host convoys at twitch.tv/objection. It should be in my profile. But what I'll do is I'll end up leaving this convoy to just kind of go and goof off, but it gives me a minute or two to talk about the things that you can do. Like I said, the playground games are a little bit silly. They're definitely not racing at all. And if you guys want, just leave me a comment, and I can make it a point to get some playground games going. Maybe the next Saturday that we do this, we can do some capture the flag and some things like that. But yeah, that's, you know, as far as the shared world aspect of this, it's something that I don't mind doing. I don't dislike doing it. But if multiplayer is not for you, or goofing off like that is not for you, then it might not be your thing. But yeah, just let me know in the comments if it's something you want to see. Here, I'm just kind of cruising around at night and enjoying the views, if you will, of the world. And what you'll notice is I'll take this soft right-hander here, get around that Jeep without doing any real damage to it. And again, I'm in a fairly unmodified Honda Civic, but if you look at this dot coming up on my left, he's coming up pretty quick. And what that is that's just another player enjoying the world. You know, if I had a faster vehicle, I could catch up to him. I could challenge him to a one-on-one race, or we could just kind of cruise together. If you go on TikTok or look at any sort of social media about this game, you'll see people finding drift groups and things of that nature. But I also just drove past a bunch of people that are just kind of enjoying the world for what it is. You know, the racers you can see out here when you're not in a race are just cruising around just like you, and it's a pretty cool world in that way. This was me entering into some co-op races. The co-op races with randoms, again, it unfortunately kind of does lend itself to that. And I don't want to say unfortunately, because a lot of the times people are just out here trying to have fun just like you. But in this particular race, and I won't show the entire race, but I will show a PvP race. You know, I kind of picked my car, and it put me and 5 other drivers against 6 drivatars. And what we would do is, in a series of 3 races, we would race against these drivatars and essentially try to beat them, right? So it does have a co-op aspect to it. There's I would say 90 to 95% of this game can be played cooperatively, if that's something that you choose to do. But this is us kind of lining up a group of different cars and just kind of goofing off and getting ready to send the race. This was me actually going in here and looking through the different options that you have. So you can do open racing, open drifting, the playground games that I described before. You can do a custom race where you make your own, and then you can look at standings for the players all over the world. We're right now looking for a free-for-all, in the Horizon Open session. It takes a couple seconds to find it because this game does have a ton of players, and it looks like we've gotten into racing, so much so that my car is extremely excited about it. But yeah, this is going to be some mixed surface racing, and I'm going to choose a Ford Bronco rated at A800 because that's what I feel I should use in mixed surface. There it is right there. I believe that's one of the first cars you get in the game. It's a fantastic vehicle. So while we're loading in, you'll see that loaded in extremely fast. It didn't. So they're already in the middle of a race, so I get in on the next one. But while it's setting up, what I'll say is that I think that this game does a great job of building a community out of people who come together for cars. And what I personally would like to do is I would like to make it so that that community is a bit more inclusive to people who just like to adventure, right? Like I know that cars and building and tuning and all of that isn't for everybody, but I can't think of anybody that I've met ever who doesn't enjoy a good adventure. And whether it's by yourself or with other players, competitively, cooperatively, I think that this game does a great job of allowing you to go on an adventure. And I think even way back when they first launched it, I think they did a great job of marketing it in that way, which is it's a shared world, something of an MMO. It doesn't have as many players as an MMO has in it. Maybe Forza Horizon 6 can approach that mindset, but I love the fact that I can adventure with either my friends or just some random cool people out there on the internet, assuming that is something that they are willing to do with me. So here the race is getting ready to start. I'm gonna do, I don't know, like 7 or 8 somersaults or backflips while I'm waiting for the game to load. But it'll show me and my car, and then it'll actually show everybody else and their car shortly, and then shortly after that the race will get started. And I can use that time, because there isn't any banter going on there, to kind of discuss a little bit about the multiplayer itch, if you will. I think that inherently we are competitive creatures by nature. I think that we enjoy bringing our best to any situation. At least I know I am, and I try not to get very toxic about it or to be very toxic about it. But it would be, I think, a little bit dishonest to say that there isn't some level of competitive nature with a lot of the people that you see or the people that you interact with. You play a board game, you're competing against each other. You play like a tabletop RPG, you're competing against the DM and the DM's creatures. So I think that the developers here realized that and tried to craft a multiplayer environment that lends itself really well to allowing people to compete the way that they want to. Like a concern with a lot of racing games online is you'll see people slamming into each other. There's ways to go into these races and turn that off, but here in a second, we're gonna get started. Typically doesn't take too long once the map is loaded in and everything. And this will only be one race that I show from this series. But I have the pole position. I'm lucky enough to have that, and I'm on my way. Right now I'm in ghost mode, so we are bunched up and we're not going to hit each other. But there are some much faster cars in this race, at least as far as the builds go. So another racer just kind of blew by me like I was standing still. I would hope that in the dirt my car would perform a little bit better than theirs, but I don't think I'm outrunning that Subaru in the dirt, that is for sure. But here we go. Now it's a little bit real. We can bump into each other. I would rather not, but I'm gonna do my best here. We're all competing against each other. It's all occurring in real time. Again, this is not something that you have to do. You can make these drive avatars, or you don't even have to race at all, to tell you the complete truth. But we'll just sit here and kind of watch how I do. I believe I didn't really change positions after I got into 4th place. I just kind of rolled and finished the race. I may have made a mistake or two that caused me to get past and pass the driver back, but I think I did pretty well considering there was 9 of us and I finished in the top half. But yeah, you know, I feel like, you know, I'm very new to this whole YouTube thing, and I don't really honestly know how to fill dead air. Typically, if I'm on Twitch and I'm chatting, I can kind of glance over at chat and see if anybody's addressed anything. Typically, they'll do some exclamation wall or some exclamation tree or exclamation item that I can hit. If you guys want to leave an item in the comments that I hit, that's totally fine. It wouldn't bother me. It would actually make me feel a little bit more comfortable, and I would be at home with that. But yeah, this is you know, just a little bit of a race. I'm gonna try very hard to not oversell the game on any of its laurels, but at the same time, I do want to let people know what's available to them. And keep in mind that this is I believe, go back to manual shifting just because that's how I prefer to drive, but I'm still doing the stick driving. So I'm still controlling this like I would be controlling Mario in New Donk City or something along those lines. That's another racer, seems to have made a mistake, but he's just letting the rest of us know that he didn't mean to do whatever he did. This game has some interesting ways of communicating. I personally, if I'm going to communicate during this game, I'll just do it in a Discord voice call. Because I do like to every now and then chat my friends up while I am playing the game. It does bring people together, and you know, conversing is one of the ways in which we kind of stick together. Yeah, I kind of ate that wall. That's an exclamation wall. This race is going to end here shortly. Looks like we had some racers drop out that weren't going to finish, and I am done here. So in the next section, what we'll do is we're actually going to talk about the Forza version of a battle royale. And that is interesting. It's called the Eliminator, and what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to do this version of the Eliminator because it goes towards my goals for the week, right? So if I win, or if I meet the requirement, which is to finish in 30th place or better, I'll get a Nissan Titan, which is pretty cool. It's cool how they've made a portion of the game a part of the adventure. It kind of overlaps with what I'm trying to accomplish here, and I think it's pretty cool. So we're just kind of cruising in the Civic again. It's creating a session for us, and while I'm cruising in the Civic, I can build points. I can do other adventure achievements if I hadn't not deleted, but filtered everything out of the map or anything like that. I could be doing some of that stuff while I'm waiting. But it's getting ready to start here in a couple seconds. And what you'll notice is that this really isn't all that dissimilar from a lot of the battle royales that you've seen that involve firearms or the army or whatever the case may be. Fortnite has a bus, so we'll cut them some slack. I've even seen battle royale Tetris, and I think that the Forza Horizon devs were like, we want to get a piece of this. And this is not the first iteration of the Eliminator, but it is definitely the one that I have played the most. Because they incorporate it every now and then into the weeklies is what we call them. But again, you know, you get your initial loadout. We'll call the Volkswagen Beetle the pistol, and then you choose where you're going to drop. So you choose a drop-in point, and you are off to the proverbial races, so to speak. But what I was saying was there are people that will only play Battle Royale games. And the other thing that, before I even get into that diatribe, is it's not required to win to meet the requirement for getting whatever you would get if it was weekly. And typically you don't have to finish ahead of that many people. Usually it's finished 30th or better. But here I go, I'm launched in, I got my level 1 car, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend some time trying to find a different level car. What you'll see here on the left above the map is people are upgrading their vehicles. It's essentially the Warzone equivalent, if you will, of trying to loot and, you know, maybe get your load out, so to speak. So yeah, the wall is going to start to shrink, and you'll see the wall come in, like you see that starry, purpley thing out in the distance, that's the arena shrinking. So if you're out there, you're in the storm, or in the gas, if you will, and being in the gas is not a good thing. If you're out there for a set amount of time, you are eliminated from this, and you know you'll have to launch back in again. But there's still 47 drivers left, and I'm really just kind of hoping that I can survive long enough to get my Titan. So we're still kind of looking for a car, something a little bit faster than a Volkswagen Bug, a stock Volkswagen Bug, if you will. But we have hope. What I'm going to do is the old adage of Battle Royale games, which is avoid the players who have the faster vehicles for right now until I have a faster vehicle of my own. We're going to turn in as the ring is shrinking and see if we can move a little bit further. What we're looking for is some purple smoke. So there's some purple smoke there. So we're going to head down there and see if there's a car down there waiting for us. And it looks like somebody's getting eliminated. 2 drivers have been eliminated so far. And people are still getting their loadouts, if you will. It looks like somebody grabbed this car right as I was about to get it, or they may have gotten it a while ago and the purple smoke was just kind of lingering. But as you can see, there are dots that are starting to appear around me, and this is not good to be stuck in a level 1 car. Still got to outdrive 13 other people for the time being, so I'm going to move inland and use the trees for cover and see if I can continue to search for a car. I'm going to try to drive towards that blimp, and that blimp doesn't guarantee that there's a vehicle under there, but it is a good waypoint to use to get across the land here. And what you'll see here in a couple minutes is by paying very, very close attention to the blimp, I've pretty much tuned out a little bit of the environment, like this rock. Exclamation rock in chat. I know guys. But we'll drive around it, and here shortly spoiler alert, we are going to get lucky and find a vehicle that will help us a little bit. We just kind of got to take a little bit of a gamble and go away from the blimp. So I'm still kind of moving. The wall's still kind of coming in there. You can actually see the line in the hills up ahead. I'm going to cut through this cornfield, and there is some purple smoke. So it looks like we might be pretty good if we can manage to get there and grab our vehicle. The engine sounds, as an aside in this game, to me personally, are fantastic. I really love them. What you'll notice is when I get into the next car, and it looks like it's a Volvo, yeah, so V60. It'll be a completely different sounding car. We'll step outside of it and take a look at what our new toy is here. But yeah, you know, it's not perfect, but it's better than what we had. And I just drove by somebody, and what I'd like to do, which doesn't really end up working out all that well, is I want to go and challenge them to the head-to-head. So this is how you eliminate players, and it looks like we've made it to inside of 30. So however it goes now, we'll accomplish what we need to for the weekly. And it looks like he's trying to challenge me as well, and I'm actually kind of excited about it, because at this point I'm like, okay, I'm ready to either eliminate you or be eliminated. We can figure it out once we've figured it out. But this driver here on the purple dot definitely wants some, and he's honked his horn, so now we're racing. He's got an RS7. His car is twice as strong as mine, so it looks like we're in bad shape. So what we're going to try to do is hope that taking a straight line to the predetermined checkered flag, if you will work out a bit better for us. We tried to pick up a little bit of a different car, and we hit a building. So did he. But it turns out that once you're in the middle of a race, you cannot pick up another car. It'd be the equivalent of in the middle of a gunfight in Warzone, trying to pick up another gun. And not that you can't do that in Warzone, just that it's not advantageous to you in the middle of a gunfight to pick up another weapon. So he's got me by a good bit, and I think he knows it. He eventually starts kind of toying with his food, if you will, and slowing down, giving me the opportunity to try to catch up. I don't know if he made any mistakes or hit any trees or anything like that, It just kind of felt that if his car being way better built than mine was, I figured that he would have finished extremely quickly, and I hit another building. So at this point, we're definitely, like, we're done. So, but this is the Battle Royale, and I think it does a very good job of scratching the Battle Royale itch without coming across as extremely violent. It can cause you to swear a little bit, but that's okay. I ended up finishing 23rd out of almost 50 drivers, so again, we had a top half finish, and I'm proud of that. And I also got my Titan. But we'll get into some creative stuff here in the next section, and thanks for hanging out this long. I appreciate it. So as a bit of an addendum here, and something that I originally wasn't going to include in the video until I went and started looking at my messages that I hadn't checked in a very long time, was the gacha aspect of this game. And I think that's what the term is called. I don't want to insult anybody, but this game actually goes as far as to give you some random gifts, if you will. A lot of the stuff in this game is earnable is only earnable through wheel spins. But if you think about, you know, kind of rolling for your Genshin Impact character or something along those lines, it has a lot of similarities there. And I own a property that gives me 2 of these once a week. I just haven't been in here to check on them. So it is nice to see that they still exist and that they are, you know, that I'm still getting things from them that I don't have. If you're watching, every time I get something that I have that isn't credits, it asks me if I want to sell it for more credits, which is fine. But it looks like I'm grabbing some cars and things. This car I have, so we're going to get rid of that. But I did grab a car prior that I didn't own before. Here in the messaging, what I'm doing is just kind of getting the gifts that they sent me, and they were kind enough to provide us with Ken Block stuff. Rest in peace to the homie Ken Block. You know, love out to his family. But yeah, here's kind of where you go to keep track of your stuff. I'll do a couple of wheel spins just to kind of emphasize the gacha point. I have 16 of them. I'm not going to do all 16. That would take way too long. Longer than I'm willing to put up with for this video. Not put up with, because that implies that I don't like doing it. But there is one more, well, a couple more things that I do want to cover before we kind of wrap this up. But yeah, we're getting credits, we're getting things we don't have, we're getting credits to get things that we don't have. So if something like, you know, just random gambling is more your speed, then, you know, Forza Horizon 5 has you covered. They really do. But that's me grabbing 200,000 credits, and we're gonna move into the creative aspects of Forza. Now, I kind of touched on this before a little bit in the last game with your character and even with some of your cars. But one, this Hot Wheels expansion is amazing, and I know it doesn't seem like it kind of segues into the creative aspect of it, but this basically gives you a Hot Wheels level track builder. If you've ever messed with those orange and blue tracks, then you know what I'm talking about. And that is one of the most creative things I've ever seen. The other thing that you have here is kind of a collectathon, right? If you look right behind my logo, there are 674 cars to collect with different rewards and different ways to get them. Some of them you can only obtain through those wheel spins. Some of them you can only obtain through the weekly events. Some of them you can go and buy at the auction if it's available for far more than what it's worth of in-game credit, of course. But it is a pretty cool thing that allows you to kind of collect and share what you've gotten. As far as some unique things that you can do with the individual car for the RPGer in you, if you will, you can definitely enhance some of its attributes to make using it a little bit more advantageous in the normal game. This particular car that I'm building, I use it in a weekly meetup that we have on Saturday nights. So it's not as useful for me to do some of this stuff, but keeping points and earning tokens is something that's a little bit easier. We will not be getting into tuning cars, so Brandon, you can keep moving. There you go. All right, so we're gonna head over to the Creative Hub, and the Creative Hub is an interesting place. You can go and look at vinyl groups. You can look at your livery designs. What we're gonna do here is go into photo mode and kind of look at the car. If I did take pictures of it, they would show up in that gallery that had shown before. But if you just want to make pretty cars and take cool pictures of them in different vistas, like the beaches or this castle that I own, or wherever the case may be, you can do that. That's an option that you have. Also, you have the event lab, which is basically just use your curated events. There are so many events that you can choose from, and each of them have all kinds of random things. I have friends that make a lot of them. In fact, in our meetup on Saturday, which is something I talk a lot about, 3 of my friends, Donkey Pete, Lock Torin, and J Block Gaming, have gone and made a lot of custom tracks and done some custom work to make it so that it flows a little bit better. But you can make tracks with jumps and corkscrews and all kinds of stuff. And actually, if I was to go back to the beginning of the video where I showed the weeklies, a couple of those things are event lab tracks that were randomly made. This here is just kind of showing off other people making liveries, and what I will do here in a second is I'm gonna go to my cars that I have some liveries on, just to kind of show you some creators that a buddy of mine, St. Louis, was able to put on some of the cars here. Now the first one up is a Honda Civic, because I'm a Honda guy and it's me. He was kind enough to put my face on the side of a car along with a lot of my Twitch stuff, and I have 2 of them now. Next up, I believe we went to go look at Sarah Bear 03 on the side of a Peel. There she is, laying down. She's super comfy. Oh, that's funny. And then I believe we went to Sarah's other car, which is a Vet, correct? Yes, we did. After that, there are a few other creators that made their way onto cars. A friend of mine, Mercedes, was put on a Mercedes. He did a great job with that car as well. Another friend of mine, Fashionator 1985, she is on the front of a truck, the Deberti. I don't know how to pronounce that, to be honest with you. I had not honestly heard of this manufacturer until this game, but that's her on a car. And the next up is the Clockwork Angel. They put her on a Porsche, which I thought was really cool. He did a great job there. But there's a lot of these creative livery looks kind of out there in the field. And last but not least is my good friend Ricky Chu on the side of a couple Volkswagen buses, which is an amazing thing. So with that, that's version 2 and then version 3. So with that, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. I don't really want to take too much time kind of closing this out. But again, let me know if it's something that you guys want to see more of, or if there's any specifics that I can go into. We're not talking about tunes, Brandon, get out of here. But the tunes are very, very creative. But yeah, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching. Again, if you want to see me do this on Twitch, you have my Twitch information, and have an awesome day. You guys stay cool.